Good afternoon. Once again, it's Friday at 5:30 in the p.m. And of course, this is your host for the next 25 minutes of Hotline 21, the most interactive television that I know anything about in the United States of America, because you, the audience, get to set the pace. You are the participants. And of course, I am glad to be here once again. And before I get into the show, let me just first of all thank all of those individuals who have called me, who've sent telegrams to my family, who have sent flowers, and we've asked them, we love the flowers and all of that, but we sort of ask instead, maybe make a contribution to a scholarship fund or something. But people have just been wonderful. I mean, just wonderful. Any body I can think of, any kind of people I can think of. Even my friend Bill Clinton called me the other day, and it's just the mayor of the city of Chicago. Everybody. My son, I don't know if he can hear you or if he can hear me. Because I really don't know. Some people think that when people are gone, and we say that those who've died know what's going on Earth, even though we may not know what's going on with them. But at any rate, my family simply thank all of you, and I will mention at some point before we end where the funeral services are going to be Sunday and at what time. But in the meantime, I have a guest this afternoon, Rob Biscaglia. Is that close?
Close. Biscegli.
Biscegli, all right. Biscegli, all right. Who is the CEO of Action for Children. I tell you, we spend a great deal of our time on behalf of children, partly because the subcommittee that I serve as the ranking member of on the House Ways and Means Committee contains lots of things in it that we have responsibility for and jurisdiction over from a national perspective. And so that takes up a good deal of our time. We love it. And we also have just a wonderful Child Welfare Advisory Committee, both at the national level and at our district level, where a woman, Annetta Wilson, is the chairperson of that group, and they are very interactive with child welfare issues. We interact a great deal with the School of Social Work at the University of Illinois. Dean Creasy is a regular with our activity. It's just great. But before we get into Bob, why don't I play a little video for 2 minutes, and then we're going to have a whole bunch of conversation. PC, I just hit it. And play, I guess, would be here. So maybe it comes on. He says, Amara, you may have to come. I just hit PC. Maybe I'll take it off of now. What's going on?
Now try play, maybe.
Well, overhead, zoom, zoom, zoom. What's going on? Oh. All right, we see it. Now all we gotta do is hear it.
Well, I can tell you what it is, which is a video of one of the schools in your district, Spencer Tech Academy.
All right, I know Spencer very well.
Okay.
All right, I know Spencer like I know the back of my hand. We've been involved with Spencer at least 25 years
Is that right?
or so, yes.
Okay, fantastic.
Even back when we were having big fights about who was going to be principals, what the local school councils were going to be, who was going to be on it, plus some of the people who actually worked for me and were premier community activists lived in the Spencer neighborhood, and they were involved. As a matter of fact, one of the teachers and this young lady who worked for me got married, and he retired from Spencer when he retired. So yeah, we've been
Fantastic.
closely aligned with Spencer and a part of it, and a woman who lives in that area, Vivian Stewart Tyler, who is a retired teacher herself, but lives not far from Spencer and had also been engaged. So
Great.
we're delighted to have you. We're glad that you're here. And why don't you go ahead and start telling us,
Sure.
well, while we're looking at some of the data that's on the screen, but go ahead and start telling us.
Sure. I can tell you about my organization called Action for Healthy Kids. We're a national nonprofit organization, and really what we're all about, and I know you support this from our previous meetings, is about making sure that every kid is healthy, active, and ready to learn. And we work with Spencer Academy, as you can see in this video, going back over the last few years. And it's just a great example of a wonderful school doing really fine work to help the health and wellness of the kids in the school. You saw a taste test and some physical activity, exercise programs that they were doing. We brought volunteers from one of our corporate partners, CSX, the rail company, which is a fantastic partner for Action for Healthy Kids, to transform the school environment and to give kids better opportunities every single day.
Well, let me ask, do you also get into policy areas, or do you really just provide services, activities, programs, expertise, and work with other individuals who are into education to create the best possible environment that you can?
We do both. So what you're looking at here, obviously, is the actual service that we provide to schools, but we work on things like the Child Nutrition Reauthorization and Every Student Succeeds Act, which are two really important policies that I know you're aware of. And we even go all the way down to the very local level, where we work with school districts on their local wellness policy. And that's kind of where the rubber meets the road, as you know.
Let me ask, are you involved in suburban Cook County in any kind of way with the school districts outside of Chicago?
We are. We have about 100 schools all across the state of Illinois that we work with. And we've got about, so we're a national organization, so our national network is somewhere in the neighborhood of 30,000 schools. So we have a very large network. We were created by Dr. David Satcher, who is the 16th Surgeon General of the United States, and we've been working for the last 15 years with schools all over the country.
He is a dear friend of mine, and I'm a big fan of David Satcher, who is the former Surgeon General of the United States of America, and his nephew actually lives in Oak Park.
Indeed.
And is indeed a physician himself, both he and his wife, and he's also an astronaut. He was selected for astronaut training, and when he got ready to start, the village of Oak Park and I had a reception for him at Village Hall, and we were really he wanted to follow in his uncle's footsteps and be the Surgeon General, but President Obama did not select him. He selected somebody else. So they are outstanding individuals, and this business of being healthy and for kids to be healthy Nothing is more important. I think we had a caller. Let me see if our caller is still there. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing, Colonel David?
I am
Hey, Colonel
fine.
David.
Good,
Yeah,
James. How you
okay,
doing?
Colonel David. Okay, Colonel David.
Yes.
I'm sorry for what happened to your son, but Colonel David.
Okay.
Okay, now you'll get about the country, right? They cover over the country, other countries, right? Now I was going to ask him about what you think about Donald Trump starting the war with Syria.
Well, let me ask him if he wants to get into that and if they have anything to do with that or any comments about it.
Really? Sure. The real answer is we have nothing to do with it. We work with schools just here in the United States. And I'd say the one connection we have is we do work with agencies of the federal government, the Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the CDC are all partners of my organization and really have wonderful people trying to do fantastic work, public servants that we work with. So I don't have a comment about it.
James, I do have, and I'll just tell you that
Okay, Colonel David.
I don't second guess a lot of times people who make decisions about things that I don't know about. But even without having all of the technical information that is sometimes needed to make the best decision, I believe in peace. I am a peace-loving person.
And my prayers go out to your family, Colonel David. And y'all have a nice evening.
You too, and thank you very much. And just to end on that, I don't believe in allowing individuals to walk over you. And I'm saying sometimes you have to defend yourself. And I think that our weapons of war should be used in defense of ourselves and even in defense of our allies and friends and in defense of helpless people who can't not defend themselves. But I think I would, if I was president, obviously I'm not and won't be, but I think I may have used more diplomatic time. President's only been in office now 3 months, less than 3 months, and maybe in my mind there could have been some other diplomacy that might have been able to keep us from a military strike against a noted enemy. And there may have been some time for Congress to debate the issue and to either make a decision to declare or not to declare war. Technically, people could say this is not war. I mean, this is a police action, and the president certainly has the authority to do that. But the only group in this country that can declare war is actually the United States Congress, and Congress has not made any such declaration. Now, let me ask you about, if you were to talk about what our children need most right now. I'm a former school teacher, and I've taught everything from kindergarten to graduate school. I've taught at several colleges and universities, but I've also taught kindergarten in District 10 in the Chicago Public Schools. But I was a regular teacher for 6 years in a special school. It was called an EVG Center, Education Vocational Guidance Center. And of course, obviously, we worked with disadvantaged children and children who had special needs and children who had emotional problems, had been incarcerated and in every kind of school that there was. What would you say are perhaps our children's greatest need right now?
Well, I think you're hitting on it, which is children need to be able to go to a school in a safe and nurturing environment. And what we at Action for Healthy Kids and Dr. Satcher believes is that has to include a healthy environment where they can go to school. Some kids, unfortunately, don't go to school with a full belly, with breakfast already. And so school breakfast is a really important issue for a lot of hungry kids. And I think that's a critically important issue that impacts a lot of folks all over the country, including right here in Chicago.
And I understand that 5 people just got shot not too far from where I live this afternoon. 1 is killed. The other 4 are wounded. Does that kind of environment hamper the opportunity for children to get the kind of education that they're going to need?
Of course.
And so you can't isolate one part of a community and deal with the isolation without looking at its impact on the overall community.
Right.
I live not far from Frederick Douglass High School. As a matter of fact, 2 blocks. And of course, we're all saddened and upset because it looks like the Board of Education may be about to close it. And of course, being a big fan of Frederick Douglass like I am, I mean, if the kids didn't learn nothing but about Frederick Douglass, I would want them to do that. But I'm asking you now a policy question. Are we putting enough resources into public education across the board, say for our state or our city?
Yeah, it's interesting you ask. I'm the school board president in my community, just in one of the suburbs of here in Chicago, and I think it's fair to say that our state is struggling to uphold its responsibilities when it comes to financing education, and it's not all right. And we need here in Illinois, we need in this country, and we need here in Illinois to prioritize education. It is the pathway to a successful life. You were talking a moment ago about all of the things that a child needs in order to be successful, and in our business we call that the whole child. And you need to care for the whole child. And I dare say that in too many places we're not caring for the whole child just yet. I hope to someday say that we are.
Marquita, let me ask you, because we got a little off track when we were doing the video. And so I'm not really sure if the clock has the time that I have left. And I'm so if you could help me with that. Well, you got your watch on. I don't have a watch on.
Looks like it's right.
And that
5:48, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right. So that sounds good. We all right. We're in good shape. So right on. I know folks who do technology, they know exactly what they are doing. Let me ask you, what's a good time for children to start school? Before you answer that, let me just mention, because people have been asking me what time and where and all of that, the funeral is going to be for my son on Sunday, and it's going to be at 2 o'clock. We call it a pre-pass, where there will be food and refreshments. So from 2 to 4, people who want to eat, we're going to be eating. I mean, different people have always put food, even with people who they thought if they were going on a long trip, they ought to have some food. But from 2 to 4, we're going to be eating. And the funeral will start at 4 o'clock. At 5906 West Chicago Avenue. That's Greater Holy Temple Ministries. And then the burial will be Monday at 11 o'clock out at the Mount Hope Cemetery at 115th and Fairfield. So if you need any other information, just call our office. Somebody there should be able to help you. But caller, go right ahead.
Yes, good evening, Congressman, you and your guest. I used to work for the city, and what I'm missing, and when I worked for the agency, we were temporary agency at Human Service. But number one, we were out there with the mission, not just the children, but the parents. Are we going to start bringing the parents in and seeing what is the need?
All right, let me ask our guest. She's talking about parental involvement and a certain kind of it. What does your organization do in terms of trying to make sure that parents are intimately involved with the schools and the education of their children?
Again, it's a perfect setup for my organization, Action for Healthy Kids, because we are a volunteer organization. We have about 120,000 people in our national network, and the vast majority of those volunteers are parents. And what we do is a program called Parents for Healthy Kids, where we engage parents and empower them with information and activities and encourage them to go walk into their own school. And I should say, I'm a parent of 3 kids. I have a 6, a 9, and a 12-year-old.
All right.
And I took our program as a parent. I don't have any special training in terms of nutrition or physical activity. I took our tools and I walked into my school in my school district and started up a wellness team at my district. And so what we at Action for Healthy Kids encourage folks to do is you don't have to change everything from day one, but you can start small and ultimately make big changes. And we have tons of resources at actionforhealthykids.org for parents to get involved and to get involved in their local school.
Plus, I think there are so many different ways to, all right, thank you, to push this involvement. I was disappointed, and I'm still disappointed, at the level of involvement with our local school councils, because I envisioned something much greater than what we are experiencing. Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there?
Yes, Congressman. I see you about to go. It's going to be a real quick question, and it's a great day to be on God's green earth. I'm going to ask your guest to go a little farther when the Congressman asks you, is it an even playing field? We know it's not an even playing field, but the answer I want to ask you is, why is not an even playing field? Why it has never been an even playing field? So I'm not trying to get on you, but I just want your honest opinion. Let me get out there so I can hear your response, and thanks for taking the call.
Okay, please, go right ahead.
I'm happy to give it a shot. I'd like to hear your opinion about it too, Congressman. The why, of course, is the great existential question, I guess. But we know that it's not. And as Dr. Satcher has said many times as he helped get Action for Healthy Kids going, the real challenge is that in places in which resources are unavailable, and that can include financial resources and human resources and facilities in schools, we see greater health disparities. And that includes things like chronic diseases like diabetes and other issues that impact kids like asthma, and it has an impact on their entire lives. And it starts from a very early age. But like I said, Congressman, I'd love to hear your opinion.
No, I think in order to change it, we have to have as much hope. I mean, the playing field in the world is uneven. As a matter of fact, there are 8 families in the world that own and control as much of the resources as 50% of the poorest people in the world. I'm saying there are 8 conglomerates. And so there has always been in our world the question of the haves and the have-nots. And the only way we can change that is to be so intricately involved until the decision makers become the masses and not be manipulated by others who may have the most resources. And that's why I always say to people when we talk about voting, is that when you vote, don't vote for the person that's running for office. Vote for yourself. And just know that that person reflects more of what you want than the other one. And that's the best approach that I know of.
And to connect it all to the work that I'm here to talk about is, I think it's fair to say that education is one of the great equalizers. And to the extent that we can get kids in school, graduating from school, and become successful in life, which depends on their health. They have to be healthy in order to be there. That it's at least one thing that we can do day to day to get the job done.
And rather than saying one of, I would say that it is the greatest equalizer known to humankind in our world. You can take one difference that we have in this country that is different than a lot of other countries, is that a person can be born at any status in life and excel to the highest of heights. Our country does in fact afford individuals the opportunity to do that. Obviously, not all individuals, not every individual, but many individuals. And thank you so much for being with us. We've surely enjoyed you. And I'd like for you to come back.
It would be my pleasure.
Or I'd like for you to just be engaged with some of our education groups to talk about education. Education.
You name the place and I'll be there.
All right. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next week. And thanks again to all of those who have expressed condolences to me and my family during this period of bereavement. Thank you. All right. We'll see you next week.